$30 in 30 minutes. That's exactly what this order brought me in as a treat maker slash candy maker.
Right. Okay. I actually had an entirely different video planned for this week, but then I saw somebody commented on one of my Instagram posts. Please comment on the candy skewer kebab situation. People really pay $30 for gummy bears on a stick. Not kidding, just when we thought we'd seen it all. Oh yeah, this sounds like my kind of thing. This comment didn't even mention where this situation is happening, but I can already guess this is a TikTok thing. This sounds like classic TikTok tomfoolery. So let's head over there and see what we're dealing with.
$30 in 30 minutes. That's exactly what this order brought me in as a treat maker slash candy maker. This client ordered 6-inch candy skewers, but she wanted dye-free gummy bears. So the base price for that would have been $30, but because of the dye-free candy, that added a surcharge of $10, so the order total was $40. And this was just such an easy order. I cannot believe that this is like my job. So the cost of the gummies was about $7. I used 2 bags of gummy bears for the order. That was the only cost involved because she was putting these inside of a little container for decor, so I just had to put them in a box, not individually wrapped. Oh, and the skewers, which were about 20 cents maybe, but these are my new favorites to make. I love them.
Right. Okay, so this is the first thing that comes up on TikTok when you search candy skewer stick. I'm gonna presume this is what this commenter was referring to. My immediate reaction to this is fair enough. Look, if somebody wants to buy a pack of impaled gummy bears for $40, that's on them. Somebody said $40 for some gummy bears on a stick. You're out of your mind. The thing is that there are people out there who will pay for things like this. This person is just supposedly filling that demand. Is $40 for gummy bears on a stick kind of insane? Yeah, I'd say so. But some people have that sort of money. It's not a scam if people know exactly what they're buying and they're aware of how much profit is being made. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that these do not cost $40 to make. However, you know, there's the gummy bears, you have to source the candy, get the sticks, you have to sit there and impale them all. She's put a bit of time into it, so if people want to pay $40 for that, then fair enough. There isn't really much damage being done here, apart from, you know, damage to someone's wallet. However, the main thing throwing me off here is the bare hands on the gummy bears. And also the wearing jewelry whilst preparing food. You can see she's got a nice little stack of rings on there. That's a little gross. Somebody said I can only imagine all the fingerprints on every one of them. The thing is that you don't always have to wear gloves when handling food. And a lot of food hygiene sources actually say that proper hand washing can be as good as wearing gloves. Sometimes wearing gloves can actually make people be less cautious about being sanitary, so it depends. I think a lot of people would prefer their food to be prepared with gloves. I know I probably would. And for the sake of showing people this process in videos online, especially to people who think that wearing gloves equals perfect sanitation, I think it's just gonna go down better if you wear gloves. People in the comments saying, is this satire? This page is a joke, right? I'm really struggling to see why anyone would pay you for any of these things. Somebody said, people pay for convenience, y'all. Don't knock the hustle. You're hating, but at the end of the day, people are still paying and she's still making money. Somebody said, girl, I can't believe this is your job either. But if people want to pay for it, and that's the thing. Like, you guys know me, I'm always complaining about things like consumerism and overconsumption. And those things are a problem when damage is being done. For example, damage to the environment. Influencers being irresponsible in the content that they're showing to their young audiences. It's all about the damage being done, right? Making $30 in 30 minutes by shoving a load of gummy bears on a stick, I don't really think there's much damage being done here. And like I said, she's not scamming people if she has a price and people choose to pay that price. Do I think that this is worth $40? Let's just say I wouldn't pay $40 for some gummy bears on a stick, but if there are people out there who will, fair play. However, a lot of people in the comments are saying this is rage bait. I don't know. Let's take a look at another video.
How much do I make as a treat maker? Let's find out. This order was for 2 dozen and it was $100 for the order. So we had the mini kebabs at $40 for the dozen and the large kebabs at $60 for the dozen. My prices start at $40 per dozen for the candy kebabs, but since this one was like a specialized theme, it was a little bit more. The materials was pretty low for this, so it was a high profit order. It did take me 2 hours, including sourcing the items. I went to 2 different stores, but overall the profit came out to $80 for 2 hours of work, so about $40 per hour, which I think is very good. I always like to start off with this.
I'm sorry, let me just go back to that one clip.
I think is very good. I always like to start off with a sample because
I just feel like she's not even attempting to minimize the amount that she's touching these. Like, what's with the The grabbing. Commenter saying, is this a joke? The bare hands on the candy are killing me. Proof that people will spend money on anything. I'm not sure if this is rage bait. This could 100% be real and I would not be surprised. I feel like people severely underestimate what some people will spend money on. Because people really will spend money on anything. And I've seen it loads in real life with small businesses. I know people who have had candy businesses and people will say, you know, why would anyone pay for this when people could easily do it themselves? Some people don't have time. Some people can't be bothered. They don't want to do it themselves. There are so many things out there that you can do yourself, but if you don't have the time, the effort, or the resources, you pay someone else to do it. You know, that's like the idea behind a lot of businesses. And I think this could just be a perfect example of that. It could be rage bait though, absolutely. Anybody can post a crazy video like this, get a bunch of comments, and make more money from the TikTok views than the candy orders. Rage bait is everywhere these days, and people on social media are very easily rage baited, so it works. Somebody said, you have to sell an online class. I just tried to make a candy kebab and it was so difficult. And the seller replied, I have one.
I made almost $2,000 this week as a stay-at-home mom treat maker / candy maker, and this is how. I have multiple different streams of income when it comes to my treat business. So I have, of course, the orders, then I have the TikTok views, I have affiliates, I also have my ebook stuff, and brand deals. I keep that all together just because they all go hand in hand since my content is about what I do for work. So this is all just kind of like one big business. And it is my side hustle. My main business is reselling high-end designer bags. My largest income stream this week for my side hustle was ebooks, and that was $700. I also had a UGC brand deal payout, which was $500. That was not posted on my page, it was on the brands page. For TikTok views, approximately $300. For actual orders, $120. And then the two lowest between TikTok Shop and Amazon, it was about $70-ish. So this week I made approximately $1,700, and it's really important that you diversify all the ways that you're making money, because some weeks some do better, some weeks others do better. So it's important to have multiple ways to make money.
Okay, so the income breakdown. For the orders, we've got $120. For the ebook, she makes $700, and the TikTok views approximately $300. So even the TikTok views alone are bringing in more money than the orders, and the ebook is by far the thing that's bringing her the most profit. Now, I do like that we've gained some gloves here. Perhaps another reason why I don't think this is rage bait. Because if she really wanted to rage bait people, then she would continue to not wear gloves so she could get more people commenting saying, ooh, you should wear gloves. Okay, so since I filmed this video about 2 weeks ago, it looks like she did go back to not wearing gloves. Maybe she did realize that actually not wearing gloves was giving her more interactions and engagement on her content, therefore boosting her videos, giving them more views, and giving her more money from the TikTok Creator Fund. What I think we're seeing here is a perfect example of the 2026 three-step side hustle. Here's how it goes. Somebody will start a small business selling something, selling jewelry, selling slime, candy sticks, running a Lucky Scoop shop. You're then getting some money from actually running that business and fulfilling orders. But then you also post TikTok content about your business. You're then getting money from your TikTok content too. And finally, for step 3, selling courses and ebooks. Now, I have very mixed feelings about this, and I actually have a full video about content creators selling courses planned for not too far in the future, because there's definitely some shady course sellers out there. But on top of the orders and the content, people will basically sell a course on how to start a candy business, and that serves as your third income stream. It's one business, but 3 ways to make money. I don't hate that. Obviously, if your business is shady and scammy, then yeah, you suck. Making money posting videos on TikTok is fine. Selling a course on something can be okay if you're actually sharing valuable knowledge and resources on something you're qualified to educate people about. However, what does happen a lot of the time is people will start a small business and they'll post content making it look like they're getting tons of orders and making tons of money. That's not a hard thing to fake on social media, getting orders for your small business. Fairly certain Lucky Scoop shops do it all the time. So you just gotta pretend that your business is popping off, and then you can turn around and say, "What's that? You want to run a successful small business like me?" Well, luckily for you, I'm now selling an ebook where for just $99 you can learn all of my small business secrets and start your own business. Sounds great, right? Now, you can throw together a little ebook on Canva in a few hours. You can probably use ChatGPT or whatever to write all the content. And there are actually tons of TikToks out there showing you how to make a course.
You can now use AI to create your own online course in just 30 seconds. Check this out. So you're going to start with going to ChatGPT and ask it to give me a complete progressive structure for an online course about your topic. I want to do surfing, and then include text and images. And then I get back this complete structure for the online course. I'm going to copy paste everything. Then I'm going to go to Lovable, the AI app builder, and I'm just going to enter whatever ChatGPT wrote here and click enter and have it start building it for me. And a few seconds later, we get back this beautiful interface. Then we're also going to ask in the chat to add a Stripe payment. So now we have a user interface, we have a data backend, and we also have a Stripe integration. So all we need to do now is go to publish. And that's how you're going to build your own simple first version of an online course in just 30 seconds.
Oh, it's just so scammy. So you make a course and sell it for $99. Sell 10 of those to people who have been inspired by your small business success on TikTok, and you've just made $1,000. So many people do this. Now, I'm not saying that the candy seller we were looking at in this video does this. That's not something that I can prove. Huh? Sounds like Mabel seems to know. It's not something that I can prove, and I'm not gonna sit here and dig into it like some weird candy course detective. But so many people fake their success for courses. Because you don't need orders when the courses and the TikTok content is making you the money. And it's really hard to tell who actually has a successful business and valuable experience and insights that you can learn from, and who is just pretending to be successful so you buy their course. Anyway, I'll be coming back to the course thing in another video, but for now, back to the candy skewers.
If you're wanting to start a business with a low startup cost, consider a candy business. Candy skewers are so in demand right now because they are a huge kid thing and everybody seems to love them. It is a business of convenience, so a lot of people don't want to do these type of tasks, so there's your business opportunity. Like I said, the startup cost is so low. All you need to do to get it going is take some pictures of some samples, post them on social media, post them in your local Facebook groups, and I promise you, you will have a few orders by the end of the week. This is also a business you could do legally from home. So if you're a stay-at-home mom, somebody that likes to stay home, somebody that has extra time to do things at home, then this is a perfect business for you.
Cake pops were the trending thing a little while ago. We had people doing those chocolate dipped things. And a lot of people will tell you like, oh, it's so easy to do from home. It's super easy to get started. You just have to go out and buy the stuff. However, what a lot of people don't realize is that there are rules and regulations you have to follow to legally sell food you have prepared in your home, or at least here in the UK we do. I'm pretty sure that here in England, anybody who runs a food business from their home must have their kitchen inspected by the Food Standards Agency, and they give you a rating, and that rating goes on public record. I'm sure in the US it's probably a lot more complicated. You guys have all the different states, and I'm willing to bet that all the different states probably have different rules. So yeah, I mean, just remember, if you're starting a business, especially one that handles food and things that people consume, there can be very specific rules you have to follow in order to run that business legally. So don't always just blindly believe TikTokers when they say, it's super easy, you can just do it all from home. And you can quite easily get in trouble for not being in compliance with the proper food hygiene regulations. Or worse, you could make somebody seriously ill if you are not handling food in a safe and controlled environment, or if you don't have sufficient knowledge on food hygiene and safety. So I think that pretty much covers it for the candy skewer situation. It's not the biggest situation we've discussed on this channel. However, it does give us some interesting things to think about in terms of how small businesses use social media and things like selling courses and using rage bait to make money. I think this video probably serves as a nice little prequel to my future video on the selling courses that I'm planning, because I do want to go a lot more into detail about that selling courses thing and how people seem to push this idea of you don't actually have to have knowledge on something to sell a course, you just have to sell a course, because that's really silly. So let me know in the comments what you think of the candy kebab sticks. Would you pay $40 for these? Do you think gloves should be worn at all times during food handling? And would you buy a course from a small business on TikTok? Don't forget to subscribe to my second channel, Rage X Louise Vlogs, and follow me on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye!